This is your host, Shiloh Ekstrom, and you are tuning in to Grit and Grace. Real people, real conversations, and real grit. Welcome to Grit and Grace. I am Shiloh Ekstrom out of Duluth, Minnesota. It is another interesting day here. We have a special edition, and get your crowns ready because Miss United States is in the house. This is Grit and Grace. Let's get started. All right, we have an incredible guest today, one of my favorite people I have been following for a long time, who has been inspiring me for, I want to say 7 years, Mandy. Mandy Peterson, now Schneider, Miss USA. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited to have you. And I'm just going to preface this. I picked out this top. It's super cute. It's like one of these bustier things, and I have lost some weight. So it's
congratulations.
Yeah. So it's been very interesting. I'm like, I need a jacket for this. I need a jacket. But you look absolutely fantastic. You just had a photo shoot. Look all your photos and all the fun things. And when we first got connected, though, you were, I think, running for Miss Minnesota. I don't even think we had the titles yet. You had been modeling. I was absolutely loving all your content. But then, you know, as your journey has progressed, you just have some incredible stories. You have done amazing work in the mental health area. You have recently got married, and I watched that journey. I have had so much fun watching your life unfold. But let's just chat and get to know who you are for the viewers, for people listening in. Mandy, just share a little bit. You know, you are a Minnesota gal, is that correct? Just like
correct.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about it. Growing up in Minnesota, how did you get into this world, the pageant world?
So I grew up in Cambridge, Minnesota, so small town USA, and I actually got a random mailing that said, you know, compete today or join today, something like that, something very generic. And I competed in my first pageant when I was a teen, completely in over my head, had no idea what to expect, what I was doing. No one in my family had done pageantry. I did one and I got bit by what they call the pageant bug. I was like, ooh, yep, I love this. This is something that I want to continue. So I came back as an adult. I competed for the MISS, so the Miss Minnesota title, 3 years in a row. Finally won that title in 2018 and then went to nationals and took first runner-up. And I knew that I had what it took to be a national title holder. So I came back the next year. I had aged out of the MISS division. So they kind of do it by age division. Came back, won the MS title for Minnesota, and now won the national title. So it has been, it's been a journey.
It is. And I think, let's just be real here, because when people think of pageants, I don't think a lot of people understand the work that goes into it. It's not just about like, ooh, you got to look pretty. No. Even, you know, I call myself a half-ass model because I'm definitely not a model. But even if you're taking photos, the work, the prep, the things that go in, and actually the physical things that go into it are very interesting. And now I can't even imagine a pageant. So talk about that a little bit too, for people who are like, oh, she's just pretty, you know, because we know that those people. I'm not, right. You know, I totally respect the hustle and I get it, but there's a lot of people. Share a little bit about this world. Share a little bit about what type of things you have to do to prepare and like the journey in that.
So there is kind of that still stigma, unfortunately, surrounding pageantries. And I mean, pageants were founded as beauty pageants, right? Now they have kind of transpired into something so much more. These women that compete are the most accomplished, driven, intelligent women that I have ever been around. You know, these women are truly changing the world. When we go in to compete, actually the first round of competition where the judges actually see us is interview. And if you think about interview, that is a lifelong skill, right? That's something that we will use as individuals our whole life, you know, connecting with humans. And so to me, interview is the biggest part. And that's the first connection with a judge. And if they love you in interview, they're going to love you throughout. So it's really making that connection, not only in pageantry, but in real life, how we can connect with other people.
I think that's really interesting that the interview's first. And that's like life, right? You don't find a life partner because you look pretty. You might attract somebody, but what really is important is the personality and the value that you can bring to other people. I think that's really important to know that it has shifted a lot. I mean, I even noticed that as a kid, kind of watching the beauty part, and it's kind of shifted over the years. I really think people are starting to really see this other world in this. And I think it's such a huge honor, number one. So congratulations. It's such a huge honor. And like, I'm excited to even have you on because I've watched you, like work so hard. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, she did it. Like Miss Minnesota, Miss USA, got married to the man of her dreams. Like, it's like so good. But I was looking at some of your bio, and this show is Grit and Grace. It's all about being real. It's all about having these real conversations for our listeners who want to be able to relate, because you have a story that's relatable to so many people. And I have been open about my journey with some mental health issues. I went through some serious challenges over the last 3 years. And when I was talking about losing weight, I mean, that was part of it. I gained a ton of weight. That had nothing to do with, mental health, but I was just destroying myself. And I was so low that I could not find a way out. And I did attempt to, end my life. I got right there and I made a phone call and went home. And that phone call was my decision, but I was in that spot where I'm like, this is it. You either drown these pills with a bottle of booze and just end it, or you go home and you figure this out. And so I can totally relate to the mental health side of your story. And I would love for you to share for our listeners, because during this quarantine, the suicide rates have gone up dramatically. I mean, we're losing people daily. I mean, friends if it's not on purpose suicide, it's to overdoses. My daughter has lost 7 friends in a year to overdoses. This is a serious thing. So let's talk about that part of your journey.
Yeah. So I was actually diagnosed when I was in high school. So roughly 14, 15 years old, with depression and anxiety. Now, this was back a few years ago. And at that time, there was even more of a stigma surrounding mental health. So you really did not talk about it. And I remember getting that diagnosis and being like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? Like, I felt alienated in my own skin. And so I refused to get treatment. Like, I refused to get help because I was like, nope, that is not what's wrong with me. I'm not going to be labeled that. No. And kind of fast forward into my early 20s, I was around the not most supportive women I could have been around. Let's just put it that way. And my mental health just went into a tailspin, and I am a suicide attempt survivor, and very similar to yours. I got to that point and I was like, I need help. Like, this is not where I want to go. And for me, that journey, I started kind of doing a checklist of how everyone in my life would handle me not being here. And I have 2 sisters that are 20 years younger than me. And so when I think about how they would process me not being here, I'm like, they're not going to understand. They're not going to be able to process why I couldn't be here, and what is that going to do to them. And in that moment, I knew that I needed help. So I sought out counseling and went down that journey. At the time, I was a hairdresser, so we are kind of counselors by nature. I moved to Chicago and was doing hair in Chicago, and I was doing a client's hair, just a root touch up. So those take like 30 minutes. And I was talking to her about, her son. And she was like, my son is starting to exhibit, X, Y, and Z behaviors, he's in counseling. And she just really felt stuck. And so I started talking to her about my own journey, about what my anxiety looked like, things that help or didn't help. And at her session, she was like, I have learned more from you in the 30 minutes of you putting color on my head than I have in 6 weeks with my son's counselor. I love you as my hairdresser, but I think you're in the wrong field. And in that moment, I felt like my world kind of went full circle. And I was like, Absolutely. Like, I love the technical ability of doing hair, but I love the connections I'm making with my clients. So not only is mental health something that has affected me personally, but now I'm a grad student in clinical mental health counseling. So it's also a professional aspect for me as well.
Isn't that interesting how some of the darkest parts of our life ended up being, we say pain for purpose, but it really ends up being your purpose. You know, the one thing that I pushed off all my life, you know, drinking and things like that got so bad. The devil was like right there, like have a drink. And it ends up being your purpose, like what your message ends up being. And that is your message. And it's so powerful because it's still a stigma as much as we're in this progressive time in society. I wasn't willing to ask for help either, because I thought if I ask for help, people are going to think I'm weak. People aren't going to look at me the same. People are going to think I'm a failure. And as thinking that, it makes you more depressed.
Right.
Like this vicious cycle. And you know, you're highly successful. You're motivated. You're driven. You're constantly like working on yourself is your job. I understand that, you know, and I don't mean physically. I don't mean that. It's all up here. All this emotional work and all the work you do to prepare to improve, the self-improvement. And then you have this thing in the background constantly tearing you down. Like, you're not good enough. Oh, you're not make it. And that little voice. And then it starts to eat at you and you feel like you're an hamster wheel because you're like, I feel so good today. And then the next day you're like, I feel horrible.
Yes.
You could win the crown. And the very next day you could be like, I'm a failure.
I actually just did a post about this, about, you know, I'm very transparent with, you know, my diagnosis and things that I feel, or, you know, I'm even back in counseling and I really want to open up that conversation and share that journey. But I just posted about how I suffer from imposter syndrome. There are days where I feel like I am not a good enough model, that I'm not the best queen that there could be, you know, and you start comparing and you start putting yourself down. So, you know, we paint a picture on social media of a glimpse of what life is like, right? But I wanted to take my social media platform and be very transparent with it. Like, yes, of course, there is the glitz and the glam of it, but I am a human at the end of the day. You know, I am Mandy. I'm not this queen. I don't go to sleep like this. And so using that to share, to really open up the conversation, you know, even if it impacts one person throughout my reign, like I feel like my job is done, you know, just impacting that one individual.
Well, it's so interesting because I have gone through that recently. I'm in counseling as well. Like I think everybody needs counseling. I don't care if you have any issues, counseling is everything. You need to be able to talk to somebody who's neutral. You need to be able to get it out. You need to say the things that you're scared to say to your friends, because you just need to have a platform and a voice with somebody you can trust. I think counseling is so important. I think everybody should do it. You can do it online. So I'm absolutely all about that. And I started counseling this year, every week to every other week, just for my sanity. Like I need to speak to somebody, and you should never go to, like, if it's about work, you don't go to your work people and start talking about work. You have to have somebody else, and it's great to have a spouse to talk to, but even that, there's issues in marriages. You want to say something, sometimes you're like, I don't want to tell you this because it's probably just a one-day thing, and then if I say it, we're going to have a fight. Or you have to be able to process it and have a healthy process. So I'm an absolute huge advocate of that. This is such a great episode already because these are the things no one talks about, and we need to talk about it. Just open it up, because when you need somebody like you, and I think this is where women get stuck, and I will speak for a lot of women, when they're feeling down and they see somebody who looks like they have it all. That never does talk about this stuff. That's only showing. Social media is such a interesting world. You don't show the horrible night you had the night before with your husband or your child, or the, you know, or the issues, you know. You don't show that on social media. But you can use your platform and say, here's the deal. This is what happened. And I'm going to share it with you, because even if you can impact one person, you did your job. And I think more people have to know that it's not about you. It's about the journey that you can help others with, because there are 100,000 women right now who are going to watch this and go, wow, she's a real person. I needed to hear that. There are highly successful women, celebrities, whatever, who have severe depression and anxiety because the pressure we put on ourselves, all of us as women, it doesn't matter what you do, is immense. It's like we carry the weight of the world up here. And if we're not Eddie Crocker, we feel like we're failing.
Right.
I hate cooking. And so for years I'd be like, I just don't cook. And it's not that I can't, but I'm like, I don't want to cook. And I always felt like I was failing in that way. But I'm like, no, I do other things. I do other things that provide value. And I think we all need to hear that. And so, all right, let's dive into, I want to hear about this journey of Miss USA because this is huge. Okay. You did it. Talk about that day. Talk about what was different. What do you feel like pushed you over the edge? That whole experience, because I want to hear it. It's incredible.
So I think when I first started, I'll be totally transparent. And I had this skewed image of what I thought I had to be a title holder. And so I was, those first couple of years coming back as an adult, I kind of felt myself trying to fit this mold. It was not as authentic as I felt I should have been, but I thought that's what I needed to do to win. Right. When I went in, even in 2018, when I finally won that Miss title and went to nationals that first time, I felt like I left it all on stage and I was true to myself. And I think coming back the next year just even further solidified that. I was unapologetically me. When I first started my pageant journey, they talk about choosing a platform. So a platform is something that you are going to speak on behalf of or advocate for during your reign. And I wanted to be a mental health advocate. That's something that has always been very close to my heart, and told me that's too dark for pageantry. And I'm like, well, it's real though. Like I'm not, I think it's great that everyone wants to save the puppies, but there is also things, there's other things going on in the world right now.
Right.
And so going in this year in the middle of a pandemic, first of all, when I was thinking about even competing, I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mental headspace to compete. The world is crumbling around us. I live in St. Paul, so I'm very close to where the riotings happened. And there was so much going on that I felt torn about competing in a pageant. Like, is this the right message? And I really looked into myself and I thought, now more than ever, do we need somebody that's going to speak up on those hard things? Someone that's going to talk about mental health. Yeah. I feel like now more than ever is my time to compete because I feel like I am that national title holder that can make a change.
Yeah.
And so going into it, I was just me, I don't ever feel like I was stressed about anything. Like I kind of put it all out there. I was fortunate enough that my mom was actually competing. So she was in another division. So I had my mom with me backstage, which also adds an extra layer of comfort in situations like that. And then when I won, it's still surreal to me. So I was titled in October. So I'm about halfway through my reign. And it still gives me goosebumps to put my sash on and put my crown on. It's still very surreal. Like I did this by being me.
I love it. And I think it's how interesting is it that everything kind of goes into the right timing too. Mm-hmm. Now we're both Minnesota girls. During the pandemic, it was really hard to see one of our favorite cities get destroyed. Mm. And what happened, not only the city, it's not about the city. So I want to balance that. It's really tough when you're like, this is my home, this is my home. Look what's happening. And to see the sadness, we had people just so, I had friends down there, right down there, I had top friends, I had friends back both sides. And I remember just being so overwhelmed. I'm like, I have to shut this off, but I can't ignore it because it's happening. And I think, what 2020 did was you couldn't look away. Mm-hmm. You weren't allowed to anymore. Like, I think sometimes it's easy to like, I'm going to shut this off. I'm not going to do this. No, we have to pay attention. And I think what came out of it, as much as it was hard, and even driving through the cities, I was down there last week, down there all the time, you still see it. Mm-hmm. You still see a lot of what happened and is still going on because it's going to be a long time to come back around. as a people, and come together. But it's quite interesting how dramatically the viewpoints shifted in mental health. As much as there's still a stigma, there is a lot more people getting healed. I mean, healing in multiple ways, healing trauma. We don't just develop things out of thin air. They're created by something. Is it your environment? Is it a hormonal? Is it, there's always a factor involved or multiple factors that get you to that. So I think I love what you said is being your true authentic self, because that's what it is, right? I always say be a rebel. Well, seriously, being a rebel is being yourself. In this society where there's filters and contouring and all of this, right? Like we can do all the fillers and the stuff, but it's like being yourself and being true to that is truly a challenge. And I think mental health, sometimes you can really cause a lot more damage trying to be someone you're not. And it's hard when people are like, no, that's too dark. No, your look isn't right. I mean, I've been told a lot of things. I've been called fat on social media by people when I was going through a really tough time. And you know what? As hard as it was to hear, it was funny because I'm like, nah, I'm okay with it right now. Because like, you know what? But not everybody is. You have to build up a thick skin. And I think it's really important to know we're all human beings. It's okay to be sad. We're supposed to feel.
Right.
And being vulnerable and being yourself. So congratulations to you. It's just incredible. I love that your mom was there. Has she always competed? Has she always been? Okay.
So this was her first time competing. So like I said, no one in my family had done pageantry. I was just kind of like the odd duck and was like, I'm going to do this. And she really loves to do like Tough Mudders and stuff like that. So we commonly will do them together. Well, she has this goal of one day doing an Ironman. Wow. And I said, I will do it with you if you compete in this pageant with me, because there's very few systems where they crown in multiple age divisions. So we really wouldn't have the opportunity to essentially go to nationals together, right? To compete alongside each other, just in different divisions. And she took the Minnesota title, and then she took first runner up at her first nationals. So
mom's a freaking rock star too.
Yes.
I love she does those Tough Mudders. Okay. And you too, I will give you huge props for that. I did one. I'm like, never again. I did. And I consider myself a tough person, but I wasn't prepared. I went through that, no preparation. And I'm fit, but when you don't prepare for anything like that, whoa. I give credit for people who do it, but Ironman, wow.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what did I sign myself up for now that she's did the pageant? Now I have to.
I'll be watching going, girl, that's great. As I'm sitting in Starbucks, like, I'm not going to do that right now. I love challenging myself. I say I'll always do something once. And I think it's important, like I have a fear of heights. I don't know how you feel about that.
Same.
But something inside me, and I don't know what's happened to me in this year. I think I'm just like, I turned 40 and I'm like, F it. I'm going to do all the things. I'm really scared of heights, but I'm going to go to Dubai and I'm jumping out of a plane because I'm like, I've got to do that once. I got to have a picture of that. I got to do it. I'm probably going to pee my pants all the way down, but I got to do it. I'm like, you have to do it. Like just all I have done. I'm like, I got to do this once. One time. I will never do it again. Bungee jumping, not sure about that. I don't know.
Well, then I will be home drinking my Starbucks, watching you, clapping for you, because I will not be doing that.
She did it. And I'll make sure I document the whole thing, even the part where I pee my pants, because I guarantee that the guy or whoever's with me, if it's a guy or a girl, I'm going to have to prep, like, I'm going to pee. Like, no,
I'm going to pee,
This is happening and peeing my pants.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So your journey, you've had an incredible year. You've had an incredible. You do have a son.
Yes, a stepson. Yes.
A beautiful young man. He's so cute.
Yeah, he is a doll.
Talk about meeting this rock and roller. Where did you meet? How did all this happen? This queen and the rock and roller.
Right. It's like a fairy tale book, some kind of fairy tale book. I actually met my husband 9 years ago in Sturgis. So I met my husband wearing chaps. I was out there working for a promotional company, and we actually opened for their band. So I was throwing beads and shirts and stuff before they went on. And I kind of sat back and watched them perform. And I had seen them perform before, you know, being from Minnesota, but I really watched how the crowd interacted with my now husband. And people just love him, right? Like you can just like feel the love and the energy that I have for him. And I was actually getting ready to compete for my first pageant. And so after he was done, I was like, I want to command a room like you do. Like, how do you do that? How do you get on stage and just be you? And like, everyone just loves you. Like I was so like, my mind just gravitated towards him and his energy. And we sat down over a burrito. They have this Sweeto burrito truck out there, and just started talking about mental health. And we became friends from that moment on. And our paths would, you know, cross here and there, just doing promotional work. You know, a lot of times we would be at the same venue. And then just a couple years ago, I actually hit on him first, and he put me back in the friend zone. He was like, you know, over the years, you and I have become so close that I don't know what I would do without you as my friend. You know, what if this goes south and then, you know, both of us lose our best friend at the time? And a couple weeks later, he kissed me after a show, and now we're married. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that funny? It's like, you have to be friends. That's
yes.
I see a lot of these. I think dating is crazy. I mean, dating now is crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm recently separated, and, you know, we're going through all the motions, and I'm not dating, but I have seen, and I have friends who've been dating, and I'm like, I can't even imagine the world. Like Tinder and all this stuff. Oh my, no. And I just look at him like, I have to know somebody. Like I can't just, I'm just old school. Like take me on a date.
Same. Yep.
Like talk to me, and I want you to care about me. I don't go like, it's really interesting. Like in a way I can see some benefits of like this, everything's all on the table right away. And I don't mean sexually. I just mean they tell you everything. Like they're telling you everything right away. You're like, well, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's really crazy how that's shifted in a couple of years. Because we've had friends, I always laugh, that have done all the Tinder and stuff, and we're like, whoa, no.
I can't. Yeah.
The world isn't for me, mama.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm just like, this is interesting. But, you know, I love that you were friends. I love that he actually got you down first. Even though he didn't. It's kind of humbling, you know, when you're like, well, okay. Yeah. But that just makes it more sweet. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
And now you guys have been facing some challenges. Get some challenges.
Yes.
And if you're willing to share a little, and you are open about it. So, so I hope this is okay. But, you know, he has had some medical challenges. So if you'd be willing to kind of share some of that with us, and how you as a wife are supporting and how your family's doing.
So ironically, I was crowned in the beginning of October. So one of the biggest highs of my life. And towards the end of October, Mike was diagnosed with a cancer reoccurrence that is no longer treatable. So that month, I mean, I went from the highest I possibly felt like I could to the lowest, right? I mean, Mike and I weren't sleeping. We were like having to force each other to eat because we weren't eating, trying to navigate through that news. And when we were given it, it was a very cold delivery. There was very, very little room for hope. And after when we kind of absorbed it, which I feel like you never really do absorb news like that, we started getting other referrals, recommendations to get other opinions from other doctors. So we did go to Minnesota Oncology and Mayo and sit down and talk with them, and started putting all these pieces together to find the best plan for us. One of the things that was told to my husband was that he should start making a list of things that he wants to do with the remainder of his life. And that is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, is sit down with my husband and go through that, and, you know, want to be this rock and this stone, like, okay, yep, let's do this. But then also that reality of why we're doing this is also in the room. But the first thing that he said is, I want to marry you. And so we got married. We planned a wedding in 6 weeks. God bless my family, because I picked up my dress and my bridesmaids' dresses, and they did everything else. Mike and I just showed up. We had a COVID wedding, so we only had our ceremony, but it was so special, and it was everything I ever envisioned my wedding to be. So they really hit the nail on the head with that one. And now, we're about 6 months in, and we have kind of shifted our thought process. We're very aware of what we're battling, but we choose to look at the hope side of things. Medicine is constantly changing. Even the treatment that he's on right now, he's one of the first people to be on it for his type of cancer. So we know that it's constantly shifting, constantly evolving. If you look for negativity, you're going to find it. But if you look for positivity, you're also going to find that. So him and I are constantly seeking out the success stories and how to be lights for other couples or other individuals that are going through this.
Yeah, it's an incredible story that I was following. And obviously I was kind of, we all care about you. And so we were shocked to see, and we care about him too. Mm-hmm. And I was just so proud of you all for that wedding. Cause I was like, yeah, like what's happening? And I was like, oh my God, they're getting married. Oh my God, this is beautiful. Oh my God. And I actually love the photos. I love how you did rooftop and you did some cool stuff. And I didn't realize it was only 6-week plan.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So, and COVID, which is just, it's nuts, and it's like, wow, you made the best of everything. And one of my biggest mottos I took away this year was be in the present, be in the present. And, it's so important because you can think of, well, what's going to happen in 6 months? What's going to happen in 3 months? What's going to happen if If you live like that, you will not live.
Right.
We have to remember to bring it back to now. Let's enjoy now. What can we do right now to make the best? And I need that reminder daily because my mind goes nuts. Like my mind, next year's this going to happen. I always think I'm going to plan everything. And no, I'm super proud of you all for, you took such a positive stance on what could have been tough, and what's tough. And you all as a family look just beautiful. Like your family is just incredible. And the support you have gotten, it seems to be incredible. Is there anything you want to tell somebody who might be experiencing this type of situation with a loved one who may need to hear some encouragement from you?
I think the biggest takeaway from me is I, like you, am very much a planner. And I'm very much a fixer. Like I, am the friend that everyone calls and dumps all their problems on, because I want to fix things. I want to help people. And this is one of those situations where I couldn't. And I found myself not taking care of myself, those first couple of weeks. And so I know we always preach about self-care and we hear more of it now more than ever. But if you are in a situation where a loved one is diagnosed, or even you, taking those moments to take care of yourself. Mike and I force ourselves to go get a couples massage or a facial or a pedicure because that's our self-care. That's important to us to do things like that together. It might be as simple as taking a bubble bath, reading, just making sure that you are taking care of you because you can't pour from an empty glass.
I like that. I think that's really important. And, we're praying, I feel that you're in a great state for this. Having the Mayo Clinic in your backyard is a blessing. We've had a few friends and family members who have done treatments similar that were, a little bit, they're experimental, but they did wonders. And I have all faith in that too. I think we're evolving so incredibly fast. I think incredible. So what is next for Miss Mandy and the family? What's next for you?
Ooh. So I, like you said, we are very much about living in the present. I want to enjoy the rest of my reign as Miss United States because I'm halfway through already. And, crowning that next girl is such a bittersweet moment because you want to gift the journey to somebody else, but also you want to hold on to it forever, right?
Yeah.
I want this crown forever.
I want to keep this crown.
Mike and me and my stepson Hunter, we are planning a trip to Arizona in like 10 days. So that is going to be wonderful. Mike's parents live out there, so we're a little vacation. And we're planning as many little trips as we can together as a family, whether that be to a cabin, down to Florida, just really enjoying that time together. Mike and I have the opportunity to go to Alaska this summer. So that's kind of a once in a lifetime experience that we'll get together. Their band got booked out there and I'm like, well, I'm coming, and we're making a week out of it. So
go fish.
Yeah,
go do the things.
Lots of travel, lots of experiences, because that's important to Mike and I, is those experiences and moments together. So
I 100% agree. And he's still touring.
Still touring. Yep.
Okay. And Hairball. Hello. I mean,
yep.
And here for my viewers, my listeners, if you do not know who Hairball is or have not heard him, it's incredible. Explain the type of band this is. I know what type of band it is. I'm gonna let you explain.
Yes. I think they're classified as like an 80s tribute band, but it's so much deeper than that because, my husband is kind of like the front man, right? So you're going to see him jumping around and getting everyone jazzed up. They have 3 main singers that are constantly changing in costuming. So not only do they sound, like who they're representing, they look like it. So that makes it fun. But they're also really big onto the production of a show. So you're going to get lights, you're going to get pyro, you're going to get that energy that, it's so much more than like a tribute band.
I know. It's hard to explain. It's a Minnesota like thing. Cause when anyone in Minnesota knows Hairball's coming, they're like, whoa, I am a humongous 80s fan. Okay?
Yeah.
Huge. Like my playlists are all 80s. My kids love the 80s, but that band nails the song. It's not just like, oh, it was good. It's like unreal. Like It sounds just like them. So if you are at a Hairball concert, you need to go find Miss Mandy and give her.
I'll probably be there.
You'll be there.
Yeah.
Just go. If you hear Hairball's coming, please go. Anyone who's listening, because seriously, it is one of my favorite bands. And there's tribute bands out there that are like, okay, this is like one of the best in the world, and they are world renowned. So excited for that. Go enjoy your experiences, because that's life is all about that. You can buy all the things, can't take it when you die, like go have an experience. Those memories last forever. And, I'm so grateful to have you on. Honestly, this has been a journey with us. Like we get together and have a nice lunch. I'm coming out of the cities. I'm going to come see you. But it's just, or if you come to Duluth, come find me. I'm right here. I'm right downtown right now. But seriously, this has been an awesome show. And I'm so glad we finally connected and got you on here and let people hear your voice. And you've already impacted so many with your reign and everything you've done for so many people. But we just want to keep hearing from you, because you are an incredible woman, an incredible mama, and inspiration to so many. So as we wrap up, Mandy, thank you. And I know that our viewers are going to be so happy with this. Any last words you want to say before we end the show?
Oh, we covered so much. I feel great about it. If you are struggling with mental health, I have resources listed on my page. That's something that I'm always very, I ensure that I give those resources, because I know sometimes talking about mental health can open up a wound for other people, and I don't want people to be sitting there with no resources. So I definitely have those resources. My door is always open if you want to connect. If you ever have any questions about pageantry, my door is open. I would love to chat with any woman, any age. I think it's given me more of a voice than I ever thought I could have.
That's incredible. And we're going to post all your links. We'll have all your social media up for everybody too once we edit the show. So definitely we will have a way to find Miss Mandy. Mandy Faye on Facebook. What is your website?
I will link it to you just to make sure that I don't get the periods wrong, but I believe it's weebly.mandyfaye.com. But I'll link it to you just to be safe.
Awesome. Well, we're excited. We're definitely going to share. And thank you so much for coming on today. And y'all, this has been another episode of Grit and Grace. I'm Shiloh Ekstrom with Miss USA, and we are signing out. Thank you for listening to and watching Grit and Grace. This episode will be continued next week. Subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple iTunes to listen, and download the Lux TV app to watch anytime, anywhere.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.